Let's welcome in our injury expert, Marty Jaramillo, here to talk about not only Jaylen Herz, but some other injury news around the NFL. Always good to see you, Marty. Kicking it off with Jaylen Herz. He's in the concussion protocol after that loss to the Commanders. They're still fighting to clinch that division. Nick Sirianni, of course, being a little bit vague because we know that concussions they're different for everybody, right? Even in the same person, one concussion to the next can vary so differently. But based on Sirianni's comments saying the doctors are monitoring, he's kind of day to day. Marty, do you think we're going to see him play for that Cowboys game, maybe the Giants game? What kind of sense are you getting when it comes to Jaylen Herz?
Well, Jacqueline, the Eagles had to send Santa almost a do-over to the wish list. Yeah, Santa, we'll take the NFC East, but can we please get Jaylen Herz healthy and quickly? So he sustained a concussion early in the game versus the Commanders. And kudos to the referee, because even though Jaylen Herz had a thumbs up, the referee looked in his eyes and said something's not right and made him go to the sideline to get examined. So great job by the referee. So now he does automatically enter the concussion protocol, which is 5 phases, but no defined timeline for any one of the phases. First phase is simply rest. No devices, no TV, no phones, just a lot of rest. And then stages 2, 3, and 4, gradual increase in activity, exercise, both intensity and frequency. And the final phase is full participation, where he has to get examined by the team physician of the Eagles, but also the independent neurological consultant that is assigned to the Eagles. Now, could it happen this week? Absolutely. All depends on exactly how it feels today and tomorrow. And even tomorrow, he might even have a limited participation in practice. We'll see. But even if he doesn't practice on Wednesday, it's still a possibility to play this weekend.
Yeah, and that #1 seed in the NFC, as you see here, is pretty wide open with Detroit, Minnesota, and the Eagles all vying for that top seed in the NFC. Let's go to another quarterback with a significant injury. Maybe the injury is not significant, but anything that happens to Josh Allen is of note, Marty, because of course, he's an MVP frontrunner for a reason. We're hearing that he had some sort of right elbow contusion, lost some feeling in his arm, but here he is explaining what happened alongside our Evan Washburn. Take a listen.
Some concern in the fourth quarter. What can you tell us about what happened to one of the more valuable right hands in football?
You're talking about
when you fell down and you were
fell
gripping.
down, got a helmet to the funny bone. I went to throw the next one, and I had no feeling in the hand, so came out a little wobbly. That'll happen sometimes, but we move on.
Said he got a helmet to the funny bone. It's being reports out there saying it's an elbow contusion. He says we move on, but is that sort of an injury worrisome considering the state of the Bills? Because it feels like, they're primed and ready with the way Josh Allen is playing to win a Super Bowl. But how concerning is this sort of injury for you, Marty?
Jacqueline, I think we're good. Listen, he's had an MVP level season with a broken left hand. Okay. Possibly his right hand, too. We all had concerns, but Bills fans, fantasy managers everywhere can now take a deep breath. So he got a helmet directly to his right elbow, and that pressure immediately builds up and causes numbness, tingling, and sometimes loss of feel in his hand, and definitely loss of strength, but all temporary. So yes, he will play. He will be undergoing aggressive physical therapy to control that swelling in the elbow. Why? Because that can also lead to more pins, needles, weakness, and that grip strength. Now, he injured, or actually contused, the ulnar nerve, which is also known as the funny bone. But if he's not concerned, we won't be concerned. So I think we're going to see him this weekend. But he dodged a bullet.
Yeah, I mean, especially because we're hearing about, this, like, to your point, the left hand that he was dealing with was a whole other issue, and now this, and when you're hearing no feeling for a top-notch quarterback, of course, some of the alarms go off. But let's talk about Tank Dell, a really, really scary injury for him, and we're learning today, not only tore his ACL, but also dislocated his kneecap. He's going to be out the remainder of the year. Texans not only losing him, but also safety Jimmy Ward. So here's what DeMeco Ryan had to say on how the team is going to move forward.
How do you just move on so quickly? Can you?
Yeah, for me, it's, you have to, right? It's easy to sit in, and it still hurts. It'll always be there with us. I don't think, the emotional piece will leave us because, those guys are important pieces to our team, and just really great people as well for our team, for our locker room, meant a lot to us. So losing them is hard. It's hard to move on, but, what's in front of us, we're here. We got the Ravens coming into our house. We have to move on. And so easier said than done. Of course, with such, tough news to hear, it's easier said than done, but we have to, and that's what we'll do, right? You have to have other guys step up, and we have to move forward. And then our next opponent really, they don't care. So we got to move forward. We got to go play really good football versus a really good team coming into our house.
Marty, let's circle back to Tank Dell because, again, not only his torn ACL, but also a dislocated kneecap. With those two injuries combined, what is the recovery time for something that looked like? Is he going to be ready for off-season activities, for the preseason? What is a general timeline if you have both of those injuries that you're dealing with?
Sure. Well, Jacqueline, a scary moment indeed for Tank Dell and the Texans, and managed to perfection with great precision by the Texans medical staff, the athletic training staff, and the local EMS first responders. And that's why he's going to be okay. He sustained actually a contact injury. Most ACLs are 70% are non-contact, but it was full speed, helmet to the lower leg, causing that knee to buckle and causing the impact to the kneecap, which came out of the groove, which is the dislocation. But the worst injury is the ACL. No longer career ending, but a very scary moment indeed. This is very analogous to being hit by a motor vehicle, full speed, helmet, direct blunt trauma to the leg. Now, being these two separate injuries, the kneecap has to be repaired to make sure it stays in place, and that needs to be essentially immobilized for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then the rehab begins for the ACL. ACL could be anywhere from 6 to 12 months, depending on the extent and the position that the athlete plays. Now, I think it was treated like a medical emergency because they were concerned that he actually dislocated his knee, which is a medical emergency on the field, which involves multiple ligaments, multiple structures at the knee, which is why he was not moved at all on the field. That said, he should be ready for camp next season. If it does prolong that, definitely by 4th or 5th week of the next season. But our thoughts definitely go out to Tank Dell, his family, and the entire Texans organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, Marty, luckily that it's not, career ending, that this is something that he can rehab from. Finally, want to talk about James Conner. So he hurt his knee in that loss to the Panthers. The Cardinals, they are eliminated from the playoffs. And so we're still waiting on a definite prognosis of what he's dealing with. But typically, Marty, in these sorts of situations, when the team is eliminated from the playoffs, we typically see some of those star players not play either.
I think that we call that load management from another league.
Yeah, Joel Embiid knows that well.
Exactly. Now, listen, Conner was having a monster game, but unfortunately did end up with him hyperextending his right knee. Now, this situation, we don't know all the details yet. He's getting extensive imaging to laser in on exactly what structures are involved. With a hyperextended knee, at best, we hope simply a bone bruise, femur, tibia just collide, and he can play with that. But our concern is with the hyperextensions, other structures are involved, like the ACL and possible PCL. So we'll know that. But I do suspect with any scenario of any prolonged injury in terms of rest and recovery, I do expect them to rest their veteran running back. There's no point if they're not in contention.
Right, the Cardinals, one of 4 teams that were eliminated from the playoffs after Week 16. Marty, we certainly appreciate it. Breaking down the very latest injury news around the NFL. Always good to see you here on HQ, Marty. And make sure you stay locked in to CBS Sports HQ all season long. We have everything you need, whether it's news, highlights, scores, storylines. It is all here, and it is all for free.